post office? Well, we have a solution for you. Pack Mail is an all-in-one mail center conveniently located in the Fry Shopping Center at 3218 East Bell Road, right here in Phoenix. Owned and operated by Arizona residents Mark and Vicky Battaglia, you can be sure of getting personalized professional service. They will pack, crate, freight, and ship your items anywhere in the world. They work with all the major carriers like DHL, UPS, USPS, and Federal Express. Need an address for your home business or startup company? They have P.O. boxes on site where you can receive and pick up your mail anytime. And their knowledgeable and courteous staff will find a way to ship that awkward or heavy item. You can even have your packages picked up and delivered for a small fee. Their motto is, if you can imagine it, we can ship it. Drop in on the good folks at Pack Mail and let them do the work for you. Pack Mail can be reached at 602-971-2300 or email at info@weshipphoenix.com. That's Pack Mail, 602-971-2300 or info@weshipphoenix.com.
Hello, Arizona. This is State Senate candidate Anthony Kern, District 20. And when I'm out fighting the woke culture in Arizona, I like to listen to the truth. I like to listen to the real scoop. And therefore, I listen to Hub Radio Phoenix, and you should too.
Located in downtown Phoenix, the Colden Law Group specializes in business and election law, civil and political litigation, as well as evictions and special actions. Call them today at 602-730-2985. That's 602-730-2985.
Hi, I'm Marta Llamas and I own a commercial cleaning company. Now that many people will be getting back to work, let's get your facility ready for them with our total disinfecting, wipe down, and fogging procedures. Our two-step process will help you ensure that your offices are safe. Call me today for a free estimate, and together we can help protect your employees. Thank you, and let's continue to stay safe.
I'm Senator Sonny Borelli, and when I come to Phoenix, I always want to be informed, so I tune into Hub Radio Phoenix. You want to be informed? I suggest you do the same. Make sure you tune in.
Welcome to Backstreet Gossip. News, talk, current events, and political commentary. And now, here's your host of Backstreet Gossip, Ron Ludders.
Oh, man. I love that audience. Isn't that great, Ray?
Oh, it's a wonderful
Hey,
studio
listen,
audience.
we're welcoming you to this show tonight. We're having a great time here. My gosh, we have a full studio tonight. And believe it or not, we have one of the very first co-hosts here tonight. Believe it or not, Ray.
That's awesome.
You're just kind of a replacement for
I
the
am.
original Ruby White. Not Ruby White, Ruby Color. I don't know what her color is. You look white.
I'm just the rebound here on Backstreet Gossip.
Yes, you are. Any rate,
and I've never done Backstreet Gossip. This is the first.
That's
yes.
right. This is your first time on Backstreet Gossip.
This is Josh Bernstein from Josh Bernstein.
I'm usually on
Uncenter, yes. And believe it or not, if any of you watched Donald Trump when he was in Phoenix, he gave a shout out to 3 different people, and he used this beautiful phrase, Wendy Kelly Borelli. And we've had
Yes,
Wendy on, we've had Borelli on, and now we've got Kelly on. Kelly Townsend, Senator Kelly Townsend.
Hello, Senator.
And welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
And the audience is going absolutely crazy.
Going crazy here. I've never seen it so exciting. At any rate, what I want you to do, I want you to pass this messages on. You need to share this show, okay? Everybody share it. And those of you, no matter where you're at in the world, and we have a world audience, we have 3.5 million viewers, I want you to go to this one big thing. Follow us. Follow us. You're going to get these nice notices as to when we're going to be on the air, so I want you to follow us. Tonight we have a kind of an interesting show. We have 5 guests here. Of course, we have the beautiful Ray Michaels.
Well, hello, everyone.
And, of course, Kelly Townsend, Senator Kelly Townsend, and Josh Bernstein.
Josh Bernstein, uncensored.com.
That's right.
Thank you for that. That's a nice plug. And, of course, We the People. And if you remember a week ago, we did the We the People.
Yeah, Josh Barnett was on.
And
David Jose.
And David Jose.
Yeah, that was a wonderful show. We've had so many comments on that. And we're going to do something again.
They by popular demand, because they really ran through it, what your rights are as an American citizen. And the one thing is, remember, our elected officials work for us. And I know that I've known Kelly for a long time. She knows that. Because I remember when you were a wannabe.
That's right.
Is that what they're called? Wannabes?
Wannabe. She was a Senator wannabe. Actually, she's in the Senate now, but she originally ran for the House of Representatives.
That's right.
And the thing is, we have asked, and this is really important, we have asked the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors chairman, and that's Jack Sellers, to come on the show. And we have a picture of him here. Josh, what does it say?
It says made in China and CCP approved.
Oh.
Well, this is kind of like a stunt double, or if you're watching the Academy Awards, accepting the award for...
Yeah. They couldn't be with us right now. They're somewhere in Shanghai.
We were trying to get the audio animatronic figure of Jack Seller, but it just wasn't available. It was
no, they didn't make a model.
It was leased out to some other parties,
and we couldn't find a Mao jacket for him. But at any rate, we've asked him to come on the show. We've asked the Board of Supervisors many, many, many times, and there's only one guy that ever made it to our show, Ray.
Yes.
Who was that?
He was your friend. You brought him on.
Chukri.
It was Mr. Chukri.
Steve.
And we kind of beat him up so bad on the show that he actually voted. The vote was 4-1, and the one vote was him. The day after he came on the show, we voted.
Well, he was presented with a lot of things by Josh Barnett and many others. He was presented, and then he said, "Oh no, I wasn't aware of it, but I will do something now," which he did, and it was very nice. But Senator, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, and especially after the president basically endorsed you. I mean, this is pretty phenomenal.
It's Welly,
but
it's
Wendy Kelly Borelli. That's right.
That's right.
That was 3 fighters, and that was awesome. But from your perspective as an elected official, and a forum like this where people want to see you. I mean, we have a lot of people watching the show, and they want to hear your input on this. Why wouldn't an elected official want to come in and sit on a show like this?
Well, we have a lot of questions that start with why, and we haven't been able to get the answers, so we have to speculate, right?
And that's what we're going to do tonight.
Yeah, we have to speculate why they won't come on.
We're going to ask Jack Sellers.
China Jack.
We're going to ask him some questions, but he's not here to answer the questions. They've been asked many times to attend this program because we are local, we are grassroots, and we want to know why they're being so obstinate in securing the answers that the public, it's not just the Senate, Senator, it's the people of Maricopa County want to know what is going on. We pay the bills. We want to know what in the world has happened.
Now, Ron, you should actually tell people why he couldn't make it tonight. The attorneys weren't available.
Perkins Coie wasn't able to sit in with him again.
At any rate, before we start, though, it's really important that we talk about something a little bit different. There was a senator, one of your cohorts here, that last Thursday had been arrested for child molestation, and that was Tony Navarrete, Senator Tony Navarrete. And
what district is he in?
30.
30?
District 30. And it's not a pretty sight what they got him for. When they were talking minor children, they were talking children under 14 years of age.
That's correct.
Sick.
And actually, the guy got out on $50,000 bail. Now, that seems like a lot of money, but we have a lot of our co-American people that went to Washington, D.C. on 1/6. We've covered that many times on the program, and they're still sitting in the tank down there.
Yeah,
all
they did was take a leisurely stroll through the Capitol, in which the Capitol Police allowed them in.
And we know people have been arrested for parading without a permit, and they're sitting in jail in Washington, D.C. Now, Kelly, you know how we feel about that, and I know how you. Tell us what you've done today.
Well, I have to tell you how disturbing it has been through this weekend to think about what has happened, to know that he has confessed on a recorded line to his victim, apologized to the victim, and said that it was very interesting, his apology too. It was about himself. He said, I'm going to have to live with this the rest of my life, knowing what I've done to you.
What about the poor child that was
the child that was molested?
And are there any other children that have been molested by him? And so now we have someone else who's come out and accused him of sexual harassment in the workplace, and that it was just brushed under the rug. And it's really disturbing. And I don't think this person deserves one more day in the legislature. I am a little dismayed at how slow we're moving on this. So I'm sorry, but I'm a mother. It's a matter of conscience. With or without any other senator, I am going to move forward and publish, and I did today, an ethics complaint, because he does not have the right to delay his resignation. I heard today from a reporter that this is hearsay, that a lobbyist who's an attorney had advised him to not resign so that when he goes for his plea deal, he can then use his resignation as part of the plea deal. And how crazy is that he has some kind of right to delay this? Every single victim in Arizona and beyond is sickened by this, and every day that he remains in the Arizona legislature just digs that pain in even deeper. So on behalf of you who are victims, I have to act, and I have to act today. And I gave him till noon, and I gave the Democrats until noon, and nothing. They called on him to resign, but that obviously isn't working, because he's going to use that resignation to do some kind of plea deal. So
I think he's taking his cue from Mario Cuomo.
Yeah, not Mario.
Well, whatever.
Andrew.
The governor of New York, and that's the least of his problems. I mean, this is a cover up for all of the deaths that he's a serial murderer, in my opinion. When he took all those old people and put them in nursing homes with COVID patients. Unbelievable. I mean, this man should have resigned at the first of the year, if not sooner. And he's still there hanging on. I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to hang on, but same thing. I mean, and if you notice, guys, there's one big thing about Navarrete and Cuomo. And it's not that their names end in vowels, it's that their names end with D's next to them.
Yeah, I've always said, a Democrat could literally strangle a kitten on live television and everything's forgiven because there's a D in front of their name. And with Republicans, it's obviously just the opposite. I mean, think about Michelle Ugenti-Rita, who basically had sexual harassment allegations against a pretty powerful member of the legislature, and they did an investigation. J.D. Mesnard ended up taking him out of Congress, but yet we still have this guy who, as you said, has admitted to doing these horrendous, heinous acts to children, and yet we're still sitting here, and this guy is in the Senate, and it's unbelievable. I don't understand how that can be. But again, if it's the two-tier justice system,
well, we have a culture issue. And when I gave my press conference today there at the Capitol, I mentioned some parents that had wanted to join me there, but they couldn't. And so on their behalf, I mentioned how this has only deepened their concern, because earlier this year, he fought the effort of the sex education bill that we had, and to allow the opt-in instead of the opt-out. And the parents are horrified at this effort that he had to push sexuality in young ages, in first grade, kindergarten. And so when I talked about that, it shifted from Tony Navarrete needs to be expelled from the legislature to how dare you use this as a reason to try and expel him. And it was almost as if they were his defense attorneys there defending Tony Navarrete and his motives, and they said, were these boys somehow more willing to allow him to do this because of sex ed? It was disgusting. And I think the media is in large part at fault for the way that this culture is going, because they defend this. They distract. They try to pivot off Townsend's saying that the sex, I'm done with it. I don't know about you guys. I am done with creepy men like Joe Biden. I am done with pedophiles. As a mom and as fathers, I'm sure we are not putting up with it, not another minute.
Now, Senator, certainly there must be some sort of mechanism. I mean, this isn't an accusation. This is an admittal. He said, I did this. So there must be, and I'm sure that everybody watching is thinking, within the legislative structure, if somebody blatantly does something and admits to it, there should be some sort of mechanism that would immediately remove them, and it wouldn't be up to them.
So that would be, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I think we just need a simple rule change to move to expel immediately. I think that there's an important part of the discovery process, though, to go through the ethics committee. We all know it's unethical. We all know that he admitted to it and is on tape, and it's part of this very disgusting account. But there's more questions. There's someone accusing him of sexual harassment, and it was swept under the rug. Part of my ethics committee, my ethics complaint, because I'm afraid that this is going to not be touched because it's political. It seems political. So I put in my ethics complaint, who knew about this? When did they know about this? What did they do? What resources have been used by Senator Navarrete to forward his agenda of early sexual education of our children? And, who's responsible? Right. Who in the Democrat Party at the legislature may have known that there was a problem?
Was this a complete cover-up?
Right.
Was this coming from other members? And if so, then they should be an accessory, and they should
right.
also be expelled.
That's right. So that's why we need to go through the ethics process. I would love for him to just go away and be done. And he does need to be held accountable as fast as possible, but those are unanswered questions that I want to know.
Ron, I agree with exactly what you're saying, that there need to be further investigations. But I also think that if we know without a doubt, and we have the recording, that he admitted it, he should be removed, and then we can do the investigation. But he has no business doing any representation of his constituents.
Can Karen Fan
let me remind
do
people right now, and let's talk about this. And it's going to be terribly political, what I'm going to say. Back in the 90s, we all remember the Monica Lewinsky issues here with Bill Clinton. And we know that it was very unethical. What he does in his private life is his business, but he's doing it in governmental property. And of all things, he was doing this in the Oval Office of the White House,
with an
most sacred place. Yes, the most sacred. And, and he refused to resign. Now, a lot of people don't remember this, but I'm going to remind you, Newt Gingrich also had an affair. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah. Newt Gingrich quietly
But this is children.
resigned.
These are children.
No, but I'm saying there are people that have the responsibility when they do something that is incorrect, and they know it's incorrect and immoral, they do the right thing. And it doesn't seem like, I can think
Democrats never do the right thing.
Yeah, I was going to say,
that's
I
the
can
problem.
think of three Democrats, Clinton, and then we go to Cuomo and now Navarrete. And it's even worse with Navarrete. I mean, it wasn't consenting adults.
Well, can I give a shout out to Senator Wendy Rogers? She is the only senator who has come out publicly to support me in the ethics complaint to have him removed.
Good for her.
And I
out
hope
of all the senators, she's the only
so
one.
far that now we have Senate President Karen Fan calling on his resignation, but actually holding him accountable, going through the ethics process and removing him. I'm almost all alone, and if Wendy Rogers wasn't out of town, I would expect she would have been there with me today.
Wendy is definitely going to support that.
Now, I also want to shout out Nancy Bartow, who I've been talking on the phone today, and looking at how do we need to look at the laws that may need to be changed to prevent this from going forward. For example, we passed a law that said that foster kids need to have access to information on how to disclose, who to disclose to safely, but I want that on the books in the law saying you shall teach these foster kids when they go into the system. And what happens to the foster kid that doesn't have a trusted adult? They may be homeschooled.
Yeah.
We've seen situations, the girl up in the attic that was rotting after she died, no one to talk to, no one for these kids, and they finally had to escape the building. These kids need to know they can pick up the phone and call 911.
Yeah.
I want that to be in the law. So that's another thing we have to do, is we have to look and see, where did we fail them? And what do we need to change? And so this is the things that I want to look at, and Senator Bartow is working with me to look at what needs to change legislatively.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Senator Bartow is my senator. Yeah. And I'm glad. I know she's got very high standards herself, and I really wish you the best on this, because this, to me, when anybody takes the innocence of a child away from them, thank God that when I grew up, I did have an innocent childhood. I didn't have any weird things happen, either in my community or in my family. And it seems like we hear more and more of that today. And, the one thing that I preach to everybody, you've known me a long time. I'm not a journalist. I'm an auditor, for God's sake. But, so what you're hearing here, ladies and gentlemen, is opinion. None of us are journalists.
No.
But we're average, everyday, hard-working, patriotic Americans, and I know you are too. So let's do the right thing. There's no excuse in our society for lying, cheating, especially taking advantage of the young minds that are coming up that will be the citizens of this country in the next decades. So, and we're not afraid to say it either, are we, Ray?
No, not at all.
So that's where that is. Now, I want to move on, because we have Jack Sellers. That should have been
Shanghai Jack.
What a nice name, Seller. It kind of
Sellers.
sounds like he was
selling
a seller.
out his America's best interest.
Yeah.
And I know
and you
Kelly,
can't say his name at the airport. Hijack. You can't say
Right,
that.
you can't say hijack. You're right. It's a good one.
What do they say? Hi, Seller.
Mister.
At any rate, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to ask him some questions. So, Kelly, if you have any questions you'd like to start out, go ahead. Jack's right on there, and let's address some questions. Anybody has a question, address them.
Hey, Chairman Sellers, how are you this evening?
I'm pretty good.
Oh, okay. That's good. I'm glad you're. Are you
We had to disguise his voice just to protect
the innocent.
Question 1: Are you sleeping well?
Oh, like a baby.
I figured as much.
You mean he woke up and his bed was wet?
I've got my Chinese-made sheets, and I'm doing great. And I throw darts at Mike Lindell.
They just happen to be rubber sheets.
Did you buy them at Walmart?
Oh, you know it. Walmart, Target, anything that's going to, send all manufacturing out to China.
Of course. Well, okay, so question number 2. Routers. Why did you say that there's routers and there wasn't routers, and then there are routers, but you can't have them because they have law enforcement sensitive information, and then now we're back to no routers? What's the scoop with the routers?
I don't know what the scoop is with the routers. I have a router at my house, so I don't really know what you're talking about. I'll have to ask my Chinese buddies, I guess.
How about passwords?
Passwords, yeah. Well, we all have our own passwords, so I don't know. I think Dominion actually ran the entire election, and we abrogated our responsibility at the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors to even run the election, which probably makes it illegal. So we'd have to ask Dominion.
I got another question. Texas in 2019 did a technical analysis and a security analysis of Dominion machines. Did we do that here in Arizona? Any technical analysis or security analysis? Because Texas did it, and they failed the machines and said, no thanks, Dominion. So what did Arizona do? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe we had EAS, the certified EES company. But actually, wait a minute. You know what? No, that wasn't certified. So I apologize for that. I think Dominion, they're close to China, and so we just gave them the deal because, we just wanted to.
Well, it seems like there was Jack, if you don't mind, tell me, there was like a $400 million transfer sometime in 2019, I believe, early 2019, of the ownership of the company. Is that who was that?
Yeah, look, there's always $400 million transfers every day all around the world, especially to China. So I'm not sure which one. There's been so many, you'd have to give me the exact one.
I got what is it, question 4, I think I'm on?
Yeah, I think so.
Just go ahead.
Is that it? Okay. Question 4. The day that the Arizona Senate was going to vote to hold y'all in contempt, we had the 16 votes.
Yes.
When I was coming into the building, y'all were coming out, and I think it was Gates. It was like a nice junior high Senator Townsend with a big smile on his face, having just left Senator Boyer's office. And Senator Boyer subsequently voted no after that meeting. What did you guys talk about in there?
Well, I actually talked about, adopting him as a grandson, as a matter of fact. Paul's been a good little boy, and he does all of our bidding. And so we really appreciate him, basically turning a blind eye to the voter fraud at the last minute.
We do appreciate that you had the meeting in the office and not in a plane on a tarmac. We do appreciate that.
Well, that was already booked.
But plus, I understand that there was some free Chinese food thrown in at the office. Is that true, too?
There was some
fortune
free
cookies,
dim sum and fortune cookies and, of course, spare ribs, which is certainly my favorite.
Okay, last question. So ARS 41-11-50, something to that effect, talks about how it is against the law to not comply with a Senate subpoena. Now, we talked about how we need a vote to go and arrest, but there's also a provision in there that makes it a crime to ignore a Senate subpoena. And you clearly are not afraid of breaking the law when it comes to that, and we've referred that, thank you to Sonny Borelli, who has asked the Attorney General to look into that, and I hope that persuades you to do the right thing. But the Auditor General is about to do an audit on you guys that I had requested in the budget for the Facebook dollars. Are you going to ignore the Auditor General and her requests for information, and if she happens to ask you some of the things that we've been asking, you're going to also ignore her as well?
You're referring to Arizona Revised Statute 41-1279.04, which provides the Auditor General the authority to examine any and all financial records.
Very impressive. So you do know about that?
I do know about it, and I've had a lot of conversations with her. Apparently, she's someone that we've known for a while, and we'll see how it goes. I know right now that Mark Brnovich has told us that we have until August 20th to answer the Sonny Borelli criminal referral, so we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, I got to run because I've got a call with the CCP.
Oh, let me ask you one last thing. How do you look in orange?
Well, I don't typically wear a jumpsuit, but, I might look good in one, hopefully.
It's great. A kimono.
That's great.
A kimono, yeah. Kimono.
I had one question.
I didn't know I was going to be doing the Jack Sellers voice, but that's fine.
Chairman,
this is great content.
I have a quick question for you. Where do you get all the money to get the defense to defend yourself against Arizona state statute?
Well, you see, I'm really not a Republican. I'm really a globalcrat, and I'm very close with the bought and paid for George Soros-owned Secretary of State Katie Hobbs.
You mean the same Katie Hobbs that calls Trump voters neo-Nazis?
Yes.
All of
Katie
them?
Hobbs?
All of them?
Yeah. All of them?
Yes. You see, election integrity to me is not important because I'm a open borders globalist who's in the back pocket of the CCP. And so therefore, I'm going to do what's going to make myself more wealthy, and I don't really care about the constituents nor the voters of Maricopa County.
So one more question, just to tack on there. Do you have a summer home in China?
I do. I have one in Shanghai. I have one in Chengdu. I have one in Beijing. And I'm going to buy one in Pyongyang, believe it or not.
What about
There's a beautiful empty apartment building with nothing in it, just a storefront that looks like there's real fruit and things like that in the front, but there's nothing else in it because it's all empty. I'm thinking of buying that one.
I understand that the garden city of Wuxi is quite nice this time of year.
Beautiful, beautiful.
You guys
the
know
foliage
way too
is
much
amazing.
about China. Sorry.
Well, Jack, I wanted to mention about this photograph. Can you?
Oh.
This kind of looks like
Yes.
you're in China on March 14th, 2019. If I'm mistaken, that was before the election.
Yes, it was.
And it was shortly after your visit there that the Board of Supervisors, not doing due diligence, but just determined, even after Texas had said 9 to the Dominion equipment, that the Board of Supervisors said, let's have the election run by Dominion. And I mean run by Dominion, not just provide the equipment.
Now,
What do you say to that, Jack?
Well, first and foremost, I would say that that's one of many of my trips to China. Don't forget, I'm part of the Arizona Deep State here, which is GPEC, which is known as the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. I'm actually responsible for bringing in foreign investments, and especially from China. And as a matter of fact, our sister city program, did you know that 50% of all of our sister city programs are in China? So I think I'm doing a hell of a job for the people of Maricopa
You mean for
County.
Maricopa County?
Sure.
So Gilbert, Phoenix.
Oh yeah, Gilbert.
Glendale's got a sister city in
Gilbert
China.
is Leshen, I believe it was. Tempe was Chengdu, and I believe Phoenix was, I can't remember offhand. I think it might have been Shanghai, but I don't remember.
Can we bring up the picture one more time? I don't know. No, not the one shaking hands.
The one where he's shaking hands with the number 2 CCP.
I don't know if we can get a close-up there, but I think that they're trading off a fortune cookie in their hands. Can you see that
might
at all?
be.
So like a challenge coin, only
I believe it
Chinese style?
Yeah, you see, I hate President Trump, and I know that Chairman Xi hates President Trump, and he doesn't like the fact that President Trump is trying to stop the currency manipulation, is trying to stop the trade imbalances, and basically trying to stop China from cheating. So because we both hate President Trump, we decided to get together and do whatever we could to make sure that he couldn't get reelected. And that's why we brought in foreign companies like Dominion to basically abrogate our responsibilities to even run the election at all, which is why we don't have access to the codes and the passcodes and the routers and the spunk laws and all those things. So really, it's Dominion that ran the entire election, which I guess is probably illegal.
It's very illegal, as a matter of fact.
But with our two-tier justice system, it looks like we're going to get away with it. But we'll see what happens. Mark Brnovich is running for the U.S. Senate, we know.
When we did have one of your colleagues here, Mr. Chukri, Steve Chukri, I did ask that question.
He's a Democrat, too, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, at any rate, I did ask him a little bit about the equipment that who was doing the due diligence on the equipment and who on the board was making that decision. And come find out from some of the statements that he made, it doesn't look like the Board of Supervisors of Maricopa County were the ones that actually made the decision, which led me to believe that in Maricopa County, maybe a guy named Fontes had a great deal to do with this. Do you recognize that name?
Yeah, Adrian, yes.
Adrian Fontes.
The one that in 2018 left open the polling stations on Sundays when actually he was not supposed to, so that we could get some extra votes there in Pima and Maricopa County to make sure that we put Kirsten Sinema in the Senate.
Did you know that Mr. Fontes sent his staff 2 years in a row to the DEF CON conference where the hackers are, and they try to hack into various things, and they have this thing called Voter Village. And both years, Voter Village hackers gave dire warnings to America itself that if we're going to be serious about voter integrity and security, that we should do serious, deep forensic audits on the elections because of how vulnerable these machines were. And Dominion had a grade of very vulnerable to hacking, and that basically any kid could get in there within a half an hour. So why did not Fontes report back to you, or was Fontes actually shopping for the least secure machine before they got the contract?
Yeah, I would say that that's probably the case right there. Fontes is a far left radical liberal that's bought and paid for by George Soros
You really think
as well.
that's true?
Yeah, just like I am.
Because I've noticed that about him.
But, we're going to continue to talk to Mark Elias and Perkins Coie, and we're going to try to run out the clock and stonewall this thing as much as possible. But there are some fighters in that Arizona Senate, Kelly Townsend being one of them, Wendy Rogers being another, and, of course, Sonny Borelli. So hopefully those three will be able to fight with the rest of them, and we'll see what happens.
The Wendy Kelly Borelli team. Any rate, I hear some music, and that means we've got to take a short break here. There's more to come. Do not go away. And those of you on the East Coast, welcome to the 10 o'clock hour.
That wasn't too bad ad-libbing, right?
That was awesome.
Just keep hanging on there because there's a lot more to come for those of you on the East Coast. And so we'll see you on the other side.
Get ready for them orange jumpsuits, Jack.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. Hi, Jack. Easy it was to get started in an interesting, informative radio program, I jumped at the chance. Since AM radio program is being replaced by podcasting, you can even create your own programming from your home. Hi, I'm Ron Ludders, better known as Uncle Ronnie on my Fighting Back radio program. If you have a business, a hobby, or a passion and you would like to share that with others, then podcasting may be for you. With a strong desire, some talent, and a deep passion, you too could get your radio message on your very own radio programming on Hub Radio Phoenix Network. We have one of the best broadcast engineers in Arizona to help you every step of the way. If you are interested in the enjoyment of podcasting, call me at 602-677-1496 to discuss the effective and affordable way to own your very own radio program. That's 602-677-1496.
Are you tired of the long lines and impersonal service you get at the post office? Well, we have a solution for you. Pack Mail is an all-in-one mail center conveniently located in the Fry Shopping Center at 3218 East Bell Road, right here in Phoenix. Owned and operated by Arizona residents Mark and Vicky Battaglia, you can be sure of getting personalized professional service. They will pack, crate, freight, and ship your items anywhere in the world. They work with all the major carriers like DHL, UPS, USPS, and Federal Express. Need an address for your home business or startup company? They have P.O. boxes on site where you can receive and pick up your mail anytime, and their knowledgeable and courteous staff will find a way to ship that awkward or heavy item. You can even have your packages picked up and delivered for a small fee. Their motto is, if you can imagine it, we can ship it. Drop in on the good folks at Pack Mail and let them do the work for you. Pack Mail can be reached at 602-971-2300 or email at info@weshipphoenix.com. That's Pack Mail, 602-971-2300 or info@weshipphoenix.com.
This is Peter Martin, financial advisor in the Phoenix metropolitan area. When I seek the truth about what's going on in the world, I listen to Hub Radio Phoenix.
Hi, I'm Martha Llamas, and I own a commercial cleaning company. Now that many people will be getting back to work, let's get your facility ready for them with our total disinfecting, wipe down, and fogging procedures. Our two-step process will help you ensure that your offices are safe. Call me today for a free estimate, and together we can help protect your employees. Thank you, and let's continue to stay safe.
You're watching Backstreet Gossip, news talk, current events, and political commentary with your host, Ron Ludders. Now, let's return to the show.
Jack has left us and had to catch a flight directly to Shanghai.
No, he's here. He's here. Jack's still here. At any rate, Jack, we don't want to talk behind your back, but those of you on the
you are behind his
East
back.
Coast, we welcome you back. Please stay awake, and we'd like you to go to your favorite page there and push the follow button, please. Yes, you push the follow button right now.
You know,
Ron, thank you.
I wanted to ask the senator. Now, President Trump came in town, and that was an amazing event. Josh, you were there. I was there. A lot of things happening there. You were up in the front, and here's the President of the United States, and I believe he still is. We have a resident.
We have a Biden pretendency.
Yeah. Go ahead. But there you are in the audience, and he's pointing and calling your name. What is that? How does that make you feel?
It was surreal. It was surreal, and I felt like, there was many of us there. There was many who were missing, and there was one who left. But it was definitely surreal, and it's not just about myself. And as a matter of fact, you know what I felt bad about? It's always about the Senate, the Senate, the Senate. But we have many over in the House that really want to be a part of this, but the Speaker wouldn't allow it. He said there was no problems with the election. Everything's fine.
No, this is Rusty Bowers.
He's coming along to where he would finally allow some of the election bills.
The guy we had breakfast with early on and said, no problem here.
He's an artist.
Not going to do it.
He's a BS so you're artist. There, and here's the president who, I mean, the world knows the president. And when the president says your name, it means something. I mean, he's not just saying these things. And when he made that comment, Wendy Kelly Borelli, oh, I like that. We're going to keep that one. And you're sitting there with your colleagues. Now, you've been in the legislature for a long time, and you're a wonderful public servant, and we appreciate it so much. There's not a lot of people that walk in there and want to serve the public, want to be true statesmen. You are one of those that is willing to stand up.
Just to show you how American.
It's a little nerdy.
Look at her phone
when she
case.
Walked in, we even saluted her phone case. That's how important she is. And so,
as patriotic as it gets.
You know, I mean, that's kind of a pinnacle. I mean, that is something that you will remember forever, to be acknowledged in the service that you give your constituents.
Okay, I got to be honest. What was going through my mind at the time was, I can't wait to tell my little brother Matt. and do you think I sent him the link? I did. I said, hey Matt, check this out.
So who is your little tell us
big
about
sister
your,
makes it.
Tell us about your little brother Matt.
I have my older sister Patty, and then there's 6 years between me and Mike. And Mike and Matt are close together. So there was like two of us here, and I love all of them. And I got some stepbrother and two stepsisters as well. And but Matt is up and coming, and he's getting involved up there in Oregon, and he's taken on some pretty big liberals in the local school district. I'm so proud of him, and he and I have talked a lot recently through all of this, and I knew he was going to be cool about it, and so he did. He posted the link. It's just one of those things where in the midst of all of it going on, you still are like, okay, I got to tell my brother, you know.
Well, that's a big mountain for him to climb in Oregon.
Especially in Oregon.
Oh, yes. My God. Yeah. They don't even know how to pump their own gas.
No. Oregon and New Jersey.
Yeah. They sure know how to burn cities down, though.
They certainly do.
Luckily, he's in Southern Oregon. He's away from all the crazy.
I was going to say, don't tell me he lives in Portland.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wow. Anyway.
That is terrible. Well, you know, Kelly, we had a guy named Garland Favorito here, and you might have met him. He's from Georgia, and he's making a lot of waves right now.
Okay.
He was on our show, and then he went to national television right from here.
Everybody starts out here, so tomorrow you'll probably be on Today's Show or something.
Cool.
And maybe
let's go for Hannity.
They put you on the 5 or
how about Mark Levin? Let's get
Mark Levin on Sunday. At any rate, he was here. He had spent some time over at the Coliseum, and he was excited to go back to Georgia, and now he's making big waves in Georgia, and there's some really nasty stuff going on there. It looks like lots and lots and lots of I can't use the F word, and it's not the F word you're thinking.
Right.
It's inconsistencies. The reason we don't use the F word here is we'll be taken off the air if we use the F word. So we just want to say inconsistencies, and there was some things here. This is an article here in Gateway Pundit, and it says, we caught them. Fulton County, Georgia, caught in another lie. They claim that only 5,000 absentee ballots were adjudicated in 2020 election, previously claimed over 100,000. And that is a fact that on election eve, they had said that they had adjudicated well in excess of 100. I think they said 109,000 ballots had been adjudicated, and now they're saying, well, no, that wasn't right. It's only 5,000.
That's quite a difference.
It's a big difference. Yeah. It's hard to make an error like that.
One of the ways the election had all these, quote, irregularities was basically thumb drives and adjudication. That's it. Because the machines were preset at a very, very high adjudication rate. Now, even if the ballot was 100% pristine, perfect, corners, everything nice and clean, the machine was set to say that there was something wrong with that ballot so that it would get kicked out into what's known as the adjudication process. The adjudication process was then hand counted by left-wing radical activists, for all intents and purposes, that were then allowed to alter whatever that vote was. That's really the way that this went down.
Let me tell you what happened here in Arizona. So myself and several others were down there immediately after the election, and were hearing from some of the people that had been working the polls and knew what was going on. Excuse me. And found out that the first 2 days after the election, there were no Republican observers in the adjudication process. And we had a lot of people saying how they were just told to push the green button and just go away. And they didn't know it, but that their ballots were going to be adjudicated. And I knew that that was where there was going to be serious fraud.
Yeah, and plus, of course, Sharpie Gate is real, okay? What was her name? Kelly Dixon, I think her name was, who was the head of Maricopa County elections. She put out...
She was Fontes' right hand.
She put out a memorandum that basically said from... I can't remember the exact dates. I think it was like October 23rd to November 2nd. Please use, regular ballpoint pens. But on election day, make sure and switch to Sharpies. Because, they bleed through. And it says right on the back of the ballot, do not use Sharpies. So obviously,
well, and the story is that the ballpoint pens took longer to dry on the day of, and so use the Sharpie. It's recommended by Dominion, and that don't worry, there's not going to be an overvote. There's no bleed through. We've got this secure paper, and we all know now that they didn't use all the ballots were on the secure paper. But we have now seen in the report that indeed they did bleed through, they did cause adjudication, and so it's very curious that on the day of when most of the voters going in to vote for Trump were forced to send their ballots to adjudication. I am very interested in the results of this audit as far as that goes.
And you should be. And I was going to say, with everything that we have seen so far, we already know there's 107,550 fake votes. Before we do anything else, that's already been determined. And so obviously I feel we're going to find triple that, to be quite honest. And I know that their goal is to, right, Jack, your goal is to stall this process as much as possible so that you can try to run out the clock. Obviously there's 13 months left. You got to keep ballots for 22 months. So there's 13 months left. This is what their plan is. And, I'm wondering that if they decide not to comply with Mark Brnovich's investigation, which would, I guess, if found guilty, they would then have 30 days to comply with giving up the information that we would need. At that point, do you release the report, with 3/4, 85% of the work done and call it a day?
I'm ready to go with this special committee that we have to take the results of the audit and write new law to prevent this from happening again. But he can't comply with the fact that, remember, those adjudicated ballots we just got done talking about were required by their own request to be put into our laws to have matching serial numbers, right?
Right.
And the report was thousands of those adjudicated ballots don't have the matching serial numbers, so you could have one ballot reproduced over and over and over again. Also, Fontes was found to have given out illegal advice that if you make a mistake, you can cross it out and vote for something else. I would be willing to bet that there's examples of where someone voted Republican ticket all the way down, but it's been crossed out for Trump and re-voted for Biden. I want to see if that happened,
exactly.
And if it did, how many times. I'm not
Exactly.
saying it did, but I would be willing to bet that that's what we're dealing with.
And Mark Kelly, they say, may have won by 83,000 votes. I doubt it. I mean, Martha McSally and him during that race, I think Martha McSally likely won the race. And maybe we'll find that out. And then we won't have this, this sledgehammer held over us with the 50 votes in the U.S. Senate and, possibly get rid of people that have not been elected. And that's why it's so important to do these audits, because in Georgia, the same thing happened with Loeffler and Perdue. So
here's one of the things that I have been trying to figure out, because the same things happen in many states. Now, if you recall out there in Radio Land, President Trump had asked all the secretaries of state to purge dead voters off, voters that hadn't voted forever since they registered 10 years or more. Our Secretary of State at the time was a Republican, and if you remember, it was Reagan. and nice Republican name, but she didn't want to cooperate with that. She told the president, no, I don't want to do that. So what I think happened is I've watched other states and tried to analyze this. As of October 31st, there was a vote count. Now, these are people, they took all these people off the list, okay? So as of the 31st of October, there was a number. Then the first few days of November, they slipped those names back into the voter rolls, and then they voted. And then a short time later, they took those numbers back off the voter rolls. So on November 30th, the numbers tied in, the October 31st and the November 30th ballots balanced. And they had voted them and then taken them out. And I think the when President Fan had that little exercise there, I think they had indicated that there were about 18,000 votes, Senator, that had been removed at some point after the election. And I think that's what happened. And it happened in many, many venues across the country.
I see orange jumpsuits.
We need to see orange jumpsuits, seriously, for every single one of them. I mean, you know, look, let me ask you this question. With obviously the Navarrete situation, I talked to Sonny briefly a couple of days ago, and he said that even if you expel the guy, that the Democrats were just going to put somebody back in. I don't know if that's true or not, and then they would still have the amount of numbers to where they would still be able to vote against
I
decertification.
get that question a lot, and I've been accused of doing this for that purpose. You can't lower the numbers and then lower the majority needed to pass a bill. You need 16 votes to pass a bill. We have 16 Republicans. One Republican, Paul Boyer, is a no, and apparently possibly Michelle Ugenti-Rita as well. We'll have to wait and see where she stands on that. But no, we can't use the Navarrete situation to do anything about the election and the audit. So put that out of your mind. What we need to do is go and recall Paul Boyer as fast as possible, because we can't wait until 2023 for his replacement. So if we're serious about getting this done, and we need his vote to hold them in contempt, but we may be beyond that now. Now we may need the Attorney General, and I do hope that he actually does something about this. But if not, then our only other recourse is to actually get a concerted effort that's organized, not two groups doing it, one group, everybody come together and work to recall Paul Boyer and put somebody in there that we can, that the precinct committee, and how it works if you recall somebody or if you expel somebody. 3 names get put into the hat that are chosen by the precinct committeemen, whether it's the Democrats in Mr. Navarrete's situation or the Republicans in Mr. Boyer's situation. But the recall's different, excuse me, I'm going down the wrong road. But there's an election for that. But the point being is that we need to make sure that the right person gets in there. And regardless of what happens with Navarrete, it's going to be a no vote, no matter who it is, from the Democrat side.
Right. Well, Senator, it's, you know what, we've been friends many, many years, and there's one thing we have in common, and that is we are activists. We cannot stand to sit by and let our nation slip out between our fingers. And I'm going to challenge all of you, and I don't even care if you're from another state. I want you to call the Arizona Attorney General Branovich, and he's running for the United States Senate. So here's a chance for him to shine and do the right thing, so that when the election comes, he's going to many voters will look in favor of some of the things he did. So I'm going to get your pencils and paper ready, because I'm going to give you the number to call the Attorney General. It's 602. That's a 0. The O. 602-542-5025. You're not going to get to talk to Mark Branovich himself, but let them know that you are angry and that you want this investigation to move forward. I am imploring you to do this. I cannot tell you how much it disturbs me to go places and have people complain, Ray, and then you say, what are you doing about it other than complaining? Are you taking some form of action?
That's what I do all the time. I give out phone numbers. I give out email addresses.
So we'll do this one more time,
active.
just in case you didn't get it. 602-542-5025. And I want you to call tomorrow. And, you have to remember that when you call, you represent the feelings of probably 50 people that won't call. And anybody that knows this business knows that when you get one call, you're actually representing a lot more people that feel the way you do, Ray, but won't call.
That's
so
true.
Let's get all 50 of you. That's 500 or so.
It's a cumulative effort because, you have to understand, if a legislature gets, maybe 15, 20 calls, they may just ignore it. But if their legislative aide says, excuse me, Mr. or Mrs. such and such, we just had 415 calls and 180 emails in the last 20 minutes. Now all of a sudden that legislature is going to kind of start thinking, you know what? Maybe I ought to take a closer look at this because, again, self-preservation is their number one goal. Let's not forget that.
And we're here on Backstreet Gossip here with Senator Kelly Townsend. Thank you again for being here. I'm curious because this whole thing, this has become America's audit. It really has. And everybody is watching us. And everybody's pointing fingers. Hey, you need an expert. You need the right people to do this audit. But historically, there's never been an audit like this. Now, does it surprise you being in the legislature for as long as you have?
Ray, could you just excuse me a minute?
Yes.
The number you had on the screen was incorrect. 602-542-5025.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ray. Sorry.
All right. So you've been in the legislature for a number of years, over a decade. Does it surprise you, 2 decades?
No.
Oh, 8 years.
She's not that
9
old,
years.
Ray.
Almost.
She's not
a
as old
decade.
as you.
Almost a decade. So does it surprise you that there is not, again, a mechanism where if something like this comes up, that it's already laid out, this would happen, and then it goes from A to B to C, and we get our information?
You've heard that, the election's already been audited,
Correct numbers on the screen.
And what's important to note is, as you're saying, there are no real election forensic auditors because it's never been done. So
Never.
We really are trailblazing here. And I think it's interesting that the hackers from DEF CON conference and Voter Village were imploring us to do this, and yet we don't have a formal team. We do now. And the mistakes, if there's mistakes in Arizona in the audit, know that now Georgia and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and whomever else decides to do an audit will know not to make those mistakes and to make sure you do this, this, and this. And will there be opportunists in this? I sure hope not. I hope we get some honest-to-goodness auditors that get this down pat. This has never been done before, but no, there has not been a forensic audit ever before, and especially in Arizona. The little mini audit that they did early on
was a joke.
Basically meaningless.
It wasn't really even an audit.
Not really. And so that's an example of how the statutes should change to reflect the needs of Arizona when we have situations like this. We're talking about possibly not using these machines. So we need to know what was working, what's not working, how do we move forward, how do we secure these elections. Mark Fincham came out with some great paper that's tamper-proof paper. I'm sure you guys probably have seen it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people playing a role in this that are unsung heroes, right? And Mark's been out there, but what about Walt Blackman? He was in the audience there when Trump was there, and Leo Biasucci, and Joseph Chaplik, and
we spent
Jake
the whole
Hoffman,
day watching that,
right? and there's a lot of people that are looking at what needs to happen, what needs to change here in Arizona, and that is spreading to around the country. And I think the most important thing is courage. That this was a scary thing for people to have to take on. I've heard people talk about worrying about their safety, should they expose some of this? I mean, that's a natural worry to think, if I do this, am I going to be somehow at risk? And how deep does this go? And who's willing to silence us? But the ball is moving now. You know, that Indiana Jones thing of that ball's coming. Right. They're running. You know, they are running, and there's no stopping us. So, Republicans, fortify your spine. Do what is necessary.
Yes.
And the last thing I'll say is, if you're afraid of losing your job, I think that's the biggest thing. Everybody's like, you know, I've got this whistleblower, but I don't want to get her fired or whatever. And I've heard several whistleblowers don't want to lose their job. This whole thing with the vaccinations and the passport, and you have to have it by November 1st or else you give the axe and all the rest. You have to ask yourself the question, how much is your freedom worth?
Exactly.
How much does this country mean? Because we talked about China. I went and looked up the slave labor stuff, and I posted that on my Telegram today about the companies that are working with China, and in China, these people forced, I mean, do you know they had to put the suicide, do you remember the suicide nets, that these people worked so hard that they would just jump to their deaths, so they had to put the nets up so that they could get them back up there and put them back to work? Is that what America has to look forward to? No. Is that going to happen here if we allow this to go? So, yeah, not on my watch. And so I'm asking you, at what point are you willing to lose your job, lose your house, lose your car, and all of those things in the name of freedom? Because I'll tell you, our founders did it. Our founders did it. Yeah. Their fortunes, how's it go? Their lives, their fortunes, and the sacred honor.
Sacred honor, yeah.
At what point are you willing to just say, I lay it all down, I'll buy an RV, I'll go live in the woods or whatever, but I'm not giving up my freedom? And it comes down to money and your security, and you have to decide that your freedom is worth more than whatever price you could ever put for your job.
That's true. Said. You know, and you mentioned Joseph Chaplik, which he was instrumental in putting this no mask mandate together that everybody signed. Mm-hmm. Another great patriot, freshman for the House of Representatives.
Okay, you're watching Hub Radio Phoenix, and we appreciate you being here. We've had Senator Kelly Townsend here.
Thank you,
and
Kelly.
And, of course, Josh Bernstein, and you'll see him again on Wednesday.
Thank you, Josh.
There's more to come, so you're going to see some people that were not born in the United States, and you're going to see what they think about America. You're going to be very proud of these citizens. We'll see you on the other side. Do not go away. Bye.